What was your last name, sir?
Marsh.
Marsh. Herb Marsh.
Yeah.
And you were a judge in El Paso.
Yeah.
How long?
20 years.
20 years on the bench. How about that? And so when did you come out here to Lincoln?
The first time?
Well, actually to move. You actually retired here, right?
Ago.
About 10 years ago. So you've been living here ever since. And I saw you in the Tunstall store just a little while ago, and you were volunteering your time to...
Yeah, you pretty much have to volunteer your time. Right? And besides that, it's fun. A lot of people come here. They get about 30,000 paid visitors a year through here, usually during the summertime and spring.
It's Hollywood all over.
This is the Tunstall store. He built it in 1877. He had it about a year before he was killed at the beginning of the Lincoln County War.
He's parked up there, so that's
He and McSween were partners. The land actually, Tunstall built the building, the structure. The land belonged to McSween. And part of this building right here this part was the original store. This part right here originally had a wall separating the two parts of the store. That's the only difference between today and 1878.
So what was past the wall?
Past the wall was the bank that McSween and Tunstall and Chisholm created. They ran a bank for a while, and also McSween's law office was in that room.
Did Tunstall actually live here at the building? In the building?
Yes, behind this wall over here are his living quarters. The post office here in front was his original parlor, and then there were two rooms back here, and he occupied those. And Billy and his pals spent many a day and night in that room in Tunstall's living quarters, because when they'd come to town, they'd either hang out here or over at McSween's.
Are these the same countertops and display counters that were in here?
As far as we know, I'm not sure, but they could have been here at that point. There are a few items on the shelves here that were, or maybe a couple, that were here during Tunstall's, when Tunstall had the store. Right after the day after, well, actually the evening of the 5-day fight next door, which was the concluding battle of the Lincoln County War. Men from the Murphy Dillon faction came inside here and ransacked the store. They took all the clothing, everything off the shelves, took whatever they wanted. And but after a few months of renovation, it reopened again with somebody else leasing the property, and it's continued to operate as a store ever since then, until 1955, when it was sold to the state. And the items on the shelves now are mostly turn-of-the-century items, saved by one of the previous owners of the store. There are a couple of items, like I said, that were probably here during Tunstall's time. There's a wall clock over there that we have dated back to the 1870s or 1880s. That was probably here when Tunstall was here. And this over here was Tunstall's living quarters. This room originally was divided in two rooms. You can see where the wall was. It was a bedroom and what you might call a living room or a sitting room. And there in front of us is the hole in the floor that the Tunstall's cook made for Billy to hide him there while the deputies were looking for him after the Brady shooting. When they opened that space some years back, it's just ground couple of feet of space there, and it's just dirt underneath that. They actually found a couple of old food cans, tin cans, that did have food in them at one time. Could have been what Billy was eating, the hours that he spent in there that day. Nobody knows. This is the back of the Tunstall here.
Now, you were telling me earlier that those markers over here of Alex McSween and Tunstall are not exactly on the spot where they're buried.
Right.
Is that correct?
Yeah. And nobody today knows exactly where they're buried, except they are back here.
Just somewhere in this backyard area.
Yes.
That's correct. And you said there was some other bodies too.
Yes. There are a couple of babies that died, and then 3 or 4 other adults. One person who was killed over in the McSween house fight, that 5-day battle, is buried here. And not sure about the other names, but there are a few people buried back here someplace. I wish we knew where.
So Herb, can you take us to where Sheriff Brady was gunned down and
Yes.
explain the circumstances of that?
When that happened, which was April 1st of '78, Billy and his pals were in this room right here, in Tunstall's living quarters. And they saw the sheriff, Brady, and his deputy Hinman, and also deputy, can't think of his last name, but there were 3 or 4 of them, walking down the street, going east. They were going to post a notice on the courthouse door. It was April 1st, '78, because the spring term of court was supposed to start that day. And the judge had come in from Mesilla, New Mexico, and but he didn't want to come into town that day because there was so much trouble. He wanted to be sure he was safe. So they were going to delay the start of court for a day or 2. So the sheriff went down, Sheriff Brady went down there. Now the courthouse I'm talking about is the building down there that's now called the Convento. And that was the first courthouse. Went down there, posted a note. They were on the way back. Billy and his pals had seen them walk down that way, and so they came out the back door here, and there was an adobe wall on this side of the alleyway, and there was a gate, a low-slung adobe wall with a gate toward the front, toward the street there. They all came out, got behind that gate, and as the sheriff and his deputy were coming back up the street, they just unloaded on them. Sheriff Brady was killed instantly with about 9 shots in his body. Deputy Hinman was also shot and killed. He survived a little while after the shooting, but not for long. And the others scattered. And when Brady went down, Billy, who was one of the ones behind the wall here shooting, suddenly jumped over the wall and ran out to where Brady was lying. He was the only one to show himself, because everybody recognized him. He was the only one to really show himself after the shooting, so everybody knew it was him. And he ran up to the body, either to retrieve the Winchester that Brady was carrying, because it was Billy's Winchester that had been taken from him by Brady a little while before, or maybe to get some warrant papers off the body. And as he came out, there was some shooting back and forth, and Billy was was received a shot in the leg, in the thigh. And so he comes back in the building here, and Tunstall's cook kind of wrapped up his wound and supposedly ran some kind of silk handkerchief through it, through the wound. And then the deputies were looking for Billy right after the shooting, and he was in the living quarters here. And the cook knew they were coming because they were following a blood trail, and so we hid Billy under the stairs, under the floor in the living quarters for most of the day. Deputies came through and naturally didn't see anything, so they left. Billy stayed there for a few hours, got back up, came out here, jumped on his horse, rode that way, supposedly with a few shots being fired at him on his way out.
When Billy fled on horseback, riding east, you were telling me about something he did. What was that? It was very interesting.
Later that evening, when Billy got shot in the leg, later that evening, he thought it was safe to leave, and so he came out the back of the Tunstall store here, jumped on his horse, rode out the gate and rode east, or galloped east, on the main road here through town. And there were some deputies shooting at him as he left because they were still after him. But he rode to the far end of town, and as the story goes, went to the left, crossed the river, which is just behind us back here, got to the other side of the river where he was kind of safely out of range, stopped his horse, got off his horse, looked back at the deputies, and took his hat off and made a big bow like this toward the deputies, put the hat back on, got back on his horse and rode off.
That would be in the style of Billy the Kid.
That was Billy's personality. That's kind of what made him unusual from other outlaws. He writes this story. He said that when he and Billy were both working for Chisholm, that Chisholm sent both of them to some town in Texas up in the Panhandle to get some cows or look at some cows or something like that.
Well, you know, out here, I think Mr. Tunstall came from England.
So they rode,
But the law was in the
and they got into this place,
sort of.
and they
Would
went
you
into
say
a
that?
restaurant or a bar,
Pretty much.
Pretty much.
and a fight broke out
So
in the
this
bar.
is- I think it's a little bit like it is now.
And-
Let me agree.
There was some shooting started, and so they ran out a back door. And they ran toward the railroad tracks of this little town, and they jumped on the back of a car.
That was after all the
after
war.
Lincoln.
And in a minute or so, out comes
But there was a
the
lot
owner of
shooting.
the
There's a
bar
little cemetery back
and
here
a couple
where
other
Mr.
guys with
Tunstall and the lawyer McSween are
rifles
buried.
or shotguns,
About 12 people
chasing
back
them because they thought that they
Couple of
started the
children
fight.
And then Tunstall-McSween who were shot.
And
the
all
other men in
the
cemetery were shot,
her
except
great-grandfather
one who
says
was
was that
poisoned by his wife.
Billy laid him
So
down.
nobody died of that.
Now, what was her name again? She's from Lincoln.
K. Rucker.
Kay Rucker, and she gave you this letter of her great-grandfather riding with Billy the Kid. That's interesting.
Well, it is a fact. It
only
is
knew each
interesting, and you know, when we were little, kids were treated differently. We were treated not poorly, but you know, when adults talk, especially when that grandpa came, he was. You were said you kids go outside, you know, and he would tell us something to my parents, you know, and of course then we were all ears trying to, you know, find out what it was. But some of the stories were funny and some were not so funny, I guess. But
Your great-grandfather worked for John Chisholm
yes,
when
he-
Billy the Kid was
his
working
name
for him.
was my great grandpa's name. Get over here. His name was Tom Story.
Tom Story.
He was a little guy, and you know, we just recently found some interesting things because about his first wife, who's my great grandmother, and she died young in childbirth. But anyway, we've just recently found some interesting reasons why he didn't come back to see, you know, the rest of the family for a few years. And it was interesting. I thought, well, it's no different than the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, as they say. Those problems existed a long time ago, didn't they?
I told you that they got into a fight in this town, and their grandfather wrote, the way he described it was that Billy laid him down, as if this other guy was coming at him with a shotgun. And they left town to come back to the Chisholm Ranch on horses, and they stopped at Seven Rivers. Seven Rivers was a settlement of ranches, maybe 60, 70 miles from here, down the Pecos River. And they went into the little town of Seven Rivers to a baile, a dance. Billy liked to dance. and her great-grandfather said that Billy got into a fight with somebody there at that dance and laid him down. So there are probably 2 fatalities, reported that Billy took part in, that were probably, they weren't notches on his gun. He didn't make notches on his gun, but there are probably 2 fatalities that have never been recorded before. The story is that he killed 21 men by the time he was 21 years old. Those 2 guys are probably 2 of them that have never been known before.
Isn't that something? And that's all in the letter from her grandfather. Wow.
She said,
You all right?
Yeah, how are you?
Good, fine.